The Knicks 3-1. They're up on the Cavaliers, and this is where I wanted Dehls to be on the show because John, after game one, you and I gave our reactions, and you flipped. You said, "Listen, this Cavs depth is concerning. I have the Knicks winning this series," and Dehls wanted to call you out for flipping, and I specifically heard a lot of nonsense from Dehls, and I said, "Listen, Dehls, it doesn't matter if John flips now or game five. He's going to be right either way. And you're going to be wrong because the Knicks are going to win this series." And now, how it's looking, I mean, the Knicks have been dominating the Cavaliers and they've been winning where it matters in the fourth quarter, rebounding the ball, intangibles. And this is my gripe with the Cavaliers is that they only had two offensive players. And when one of them is not having a good game, it's very apparent. You need both of them to play like superstars in Garland and Mitchell. And this game, Garland played all right. Mitchell was horrible. He was 5 for 18, while Brunson had 29.6 rebounds and 6 assists. He outplayed him once again. And we got the RJ Barrett game today. I mean, he was great in game 3, great again in game 4. And with Julius Randle not playing well, and I'm not expecting him to play well for the entirety of these playoffs because Julius Randle has already shown us what he is. RJ Barrett stepped up. RJ Barrett answered the criticism, all the criticism we had, everybody that was criticizing him, he answered them in these games. Now, does that mean RJ Barrett is now this future superstar that is a locked-in all-star year to year? No, it does not. It does not. And I think that
Are people saying that? Are people saying that, Joel? Be real.
Everybody, listen, you might as well, because I think nowadays everybody wants to have a gotcha moment. So you criticize RJ for playing poorly in game 1 and game 2. All of a sudden, he has good games, game 3 and game 4. It's, I told you RJ was always this good. I told you RJ Barrett was like that. Listen, RJ had good games. You got to praise those good games. But let's not overreact to this guy's entire future now just because of these games. And let's not forget about why all of the criticisms were warranted in the first place. That's what I'm trying to say. But ultimately, I feel confident about the Knicks. Our depth is great. We have a great team. Mitchell Robinson's defense was elite. Isaiah Hartenstein's minutes off the bench. He was amazing defensively, had 3 blocks. Offensively, opened up the corner threes. Josh Hart, another great game by him. He has proven to be one of the best midseason accusations that any team has had this year. I ain't going to talk about you, John. You know why I'm looking at.
If only someone told them. If only someone told them, man.
And Obi Toppin, some great minutes, man. I think Obi Toppin is somebody that is better than what his role is currently, and he can be a very good player. Emmanuel quickly has yet to get it going this game offensively, this series offensively, but his defense this game was great. If Julius Randle can play to his level, Brunson continues playing at his level, and RJ gives us what he's given us now, this team can go to the conference finals. Because I look at the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis is injured right now. We allow some of the fewest pain points in the NBA. Our rim protection, our interior defense is elite. That's what the Bucks thrive themselves on. And the Heat, if they somehow advance, we can beat them. I think if the Knicks can get everything going from their players, best case scenario for this team is the conference finals appearance.
Joel, with love and admiration. I appreciate and I really do admire the love that you have for the Knicks right now. It's a love that I haven't seen out of you in some time.
Get out of here.
Hey, come on, bro. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that was a little backhanded. I apologize. What I do want to say is against Miami, no doubt. I like the Knicks there. Against Milwaukee, you could say that Giannis is injured. You don't know how he's going to come back into the series, how much of a factor he's going to be. I will say this. If Giannis is playing, I'm going with Milwaukee regardless. And that's not a slight to the Knicks. Your guys' interior presence has been on full effect, especially this series against the Cavaliers. Donovan and Garland really cannot drive to the basket, cannot get anything going near the cup. You see it in Allen where he's looking like the inferior big when we all know Jared Allen is a better center than Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson is making people have conversations that are finally acknowledging how great and how much of a presence Mitchell Robinson is. The big issue with Mitch is that he hasn't been healthy. But now we're seeing on full display his defense, how fantastic he's been. And there was a part of the game where Mitch kind of was dominating both sides of the court, offensive rebounds, defensively. He really could just do no wrong in the paint. No one was getting anything on him. But this was all while Jared Allen was off the court. It's very simple to me. When Mitch Robinson is on the court, you need to match it with Jared Allen. It does not matter if Jared Allen is looking like a cone, if offensively he's not doing much. You need that big body presence because Mobley is going to get tossed around by Mitch. Mitch is the bigger, more dominant physical big, and that is an issue for Mobley. Mobley has done all right these last couple of games, but really what has been the highlight of it for me is Jalen Brunson and how fantastic he has consistently been. His big-time buckets, the moment's never too big for him. It was highlighted last season, but more specifically this season, doing it in the Garden. People are going to say, that's a crock of shit. It really does not mean that much more. Yes, it does. This is the media capital of the world. This is the biggest fan base in the world, and the fans are cutthroat. They want the best out of their players, regardless of what it takes. And the reason why Knicks fans, including my great friend Joel, has been so critical of RJ is because moments like this, the players don't really live up to the hype, similar to Julius Randle. But Jalen Brunson, that's not a problem for him. In these moments, he lives for it. He thrives for it. Seeing the success that Hart has. I jokingly tweeted that Hart is the best offensive rebounder I've ever seen. That's obviously a hyperbole, but it's understanding how big the minutes that he gives them, how much he makes himself a presence down low. And of course, I already mentioned this, Mitch Robinson, his defensive presence, but RJ Barrett, it's a matter of time we started to give him his respect, but it's not a gotcha moment because you're right. Game 1 and Game 2, RJ was not good. But in the biggest games of RJ's career, back-to-back games in the Garden, he has the best 2 games of his young career. And this was his career high in points in the playoffs, 26, 50% from the field. RJ was huge for the Knicks. Another guy that when you needed a bucket, his finishing in the paint was huge. He was crucial to this Knicks victory. The Cavaliers, I cannot go this entire conversation without talking about them. Donovan Mitchell, I'm hearing that this guy's all-time playoff performer, which he's shown us in the past. He needs to turn it on. He simply cannot have a performance like he had today and expect that the Cavaliers are going to win this game. Because Garland, although he had 6 straight quarters of not being good, we're talking about Game 3 and the first 2 quarters of this game, he picked it up in the second half, but even still, that's not enough. Donovan Mitchell needs to be the Donovan Mitchell that we saw Game 1, Game 2, that the Cavaliers desperately need if they want to win this series. As of right now, I'm not fully ready to say that this one is going to be over in 5. I think Cavaliers do handle the Game 5 in Cleveland. Game 6, with the energy that Knicks fans have been bringing, it's very hard to see how this series isn't over in 6. The Knicks are the deeper team. They've been playing they've been playing way harder than the Cavaliers. It just seems like the Knicks want it more than the Cavaliers do.
Hey, look, Drew, you can say it. Donovan Mitchell is dog shit today. 5 of 18, starts off the game getting cooked by Jalen Brunson. This is now 2 straight years of Brunson absolutely dominating Donovan Mitchell. And we've always looked at Donovan as one of the most explosive bucket getters in the league. But there's a level of inconsistency in his game that we've seen for multiple years on end now. To talk about the Knicks, though, Mitchell Robinson in this series has thoroughly outplayed both Jarrett in his first playoff run, by the way, and Evan Mobley. Today, he had 7 offensive rebounds to their 4. Defensively at the rim, he's been a menace. And to go with Isaiah Hartenstein, I thought for the Knicks, he would be a sneaky good offensive pickup for them, but defensively as well, he's been one of the best backup bigs at rim protecting. On the glass, he's been solid, and he also has that offensive game as a passer, a little bit of the floater stuff. What it really comes down to is that the Cavaliers, we all praise them in the regular season for getting Donovan Mitchell, and for a second straight year, Donovan had a remarkable regular season. But we often see in the playoffs, teams that have the better depth, they get in on the offensive glass, they win in transition, they win the turnover battle. When you can take care of those things in a sloppy offensive series in the half court, you're going to have the edge. And so for a Cleveland team that basically sacrificed all of their depth this offseason to add in Donovan Mitchell, not only has he not been the best player in his team, which is not saying much right now, but he's not even playing anywhere near the level of what they gave up to get him. That was 3 first-round picks. And I kind of look at this Cleveland team. They have a lot of potential. They're young as hell. But can Donovan Mitchell be the best player in a contending team? The more I watch him in the playoffs, the more I say no. It's hard to watch him defensively get blown by off the dribble, as a playmaker being a turnover machine. And we've always known with him, he's been a below average playmaker. And this is kind of coming from a Donovan Mitchell fan. He hit the world by storm in his rookie season. By his 3rd year, 36 points per game in the postseason. But there comes a point where you keep progressing, You keep getting outplayed by Jalen Brunson, a guy who not only Knicks fans, but the entire NBA world more so, completely overlooked. They wrote off because most Knicks fans were hoping they can get Donovan Mitchell. And it turns out the Knicks were right this offseason. They were right the entire time. Not only has Jalen Brunson been better in the postseason than Mitchell for 2 straight years, but they kept all of their depth that is currently outplaying the Cavaliers' lack of depth due to how much they invested for a star. And Donovan, that I'm going to continue going back to it, he's just not playing at the level number 1 right now. And I look at Darius Garland. Drew, you're talking to me before the show, and you're saying a little bit of some disrespectful stuff about how he had 6 terrible quarters, which is true. But we did see him in the second half start to attack and stop settling. And I think that's where Garland's at his best. When he's trying to take the jumpers and he's airballing a couple of them, he gets into his head a little bit. But for a young guard in this type of environment, where he can do the most damage is in the in-between area, getting by his man off the dribble. And I feel like in Game 5, the Cavaliers are going to win at home. The issue kind of is this was the biggest game of their season, and Donovan was 5 of 18. He couldn't get to the rim. He couldn't make a three-pointer. I don't know what the ceiling is with this Cavaliers team. Like, the more I watch him just lay an egg in the playoffs, not deliver for his team, it's like, guys, we have invested 3 first-round picks into this player, and we're getting outplayed by a New York team. On the podcast, we were talking about what's the Cavaliers' floor this year, and I think Riv and I were going back and forth. Riv said their floor was a second-round exit. I said their floor was the first-round exit to the Knicks. And I think they've got a lot of work to do, not only this offseason, by building a better bench to compete with this Knicks team, because the Knicks bench, everyone's ready to play. I mean, Miles McBride, Deuce was awesome in his 5 minutes coming in for Quentin Grimes, who didn't even play today. We didn't even see Quentin Grimes. Amino quickly didn't make a shot. But the Knicks are so many two-way role players that have gravity offensively, and on the defensive end are always in the right spots to make the right plays. I mean, a lot of credit deserves to go to Tom Thibodeau. I think he's done a really good job this year at the bench, and that continues to be a difference maker. And the Cavaliers getting dominated by the Knicks, truly.
Joel, I know you're licking your chops, and I know it's looking like you want to say something and to rebuttal or rebuke whatever John's going to say. But real quick, you mentioned Obi Toppin in the minutes that he played today. It was unbelievable, and something I never would have guessed in a million years, that you would have told me that Obi Toppin would be in a closing lineup for the New York Knicks in the playoffs, which translated to a New York win. Now, Obi Toppin gave them some solid minutes, no doubt about it. Defensively, hit a couple shots, big time, no doubt. But really, the defense is really why he was so prominently needed. It was shocking that Julius Randle had just been playing so poorly that Thibodeau had the confidence in himself, the trust in himself, to make the decision to give Obi those minutes. And in the end, you have to give Thibodeau his due diligence, a round of applause, because that was an excellent decision and one that ended up playing in the hand of the favor for the New York Knicks.
You know, Drew, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm going to touch on that before I go and talk about what I've been licking my chops about. Because John is a funny guy. I'm going to mention why you're a funny guy in a bit, John. When it comes to Obi Toppin and Julius Randle, Tom Thibodeau made the right decision benching Julius Randle in that fourth quarter. Julius Randle, it's about time he answers the call. And this is a wake-up call for him, getting benched in the closing lineup in the fourth quarter of a crucial playoff game, because Julius Randle, for his entire playoff career so far, has been disappointing. I mean, between him and D'Angelo Russell, I don't know who's worse. It might be Randle slightly. It might be Randle.
Come on. Unnecessary.
People
He's
forget.
Definitely worse as well.
The reason why the Knicks drafted Obi Toppin 8th overall was because he was supposed to be the Julius Randle replacement. But then Randle had a shocking all-NBA season that surprised all of us. That does not mean that Obi Toppin cannot play. Obi Toppin is one of the players right now in the league that I view as a guy, if he had more opportunity, would put up so much better numbers and would be a much more respected player in this league. I don't use per 36 often. I use it when the sample size warrants it. Obi Toppin per 36 as a rookie, 13-7. His second year, 19-8. This year, 17-6. Obi Toppin, if he gets starter minutes, is an 18-8 guy, could be a 20-10 guy one day. And if he ever somehow leaves the Knicks and has a bigger role, or maybe the Knicks trade Randle and give Obi a bigger role, he can be a legit 16-10 or 20-10 guy in this league. I believe in Obi Toppin's skill set that much. And coming into the NBA, he wasn't known as a good defender. He's improved defensively under Tom Thibodeau, and he has some really good skill sets. He's a great slasher. He can finish around the rim very well. He can now shoot with some consistency, which is huge, and he's very athletic. Now,
5 offensive rebounds today, 5 more than Randle.
Yeah, I mean, Obi Toppin gets after it, and his energy is infectious. And whenever you see those highlight dunks by him, it just further proves that point. Now, when talking about Jalen Brunson, I mean, Jalen Brunson, I always knew he had this in him. I called him being an all-star, and although I wasn't very high on the Knicks coming into the year as a top 6 seed, I did have them in the play-in. And when it comes to the Knicks, all everybody wants to mention is how I don't watch them. It's because of the blackout. I'd watch them much more if they weren't blacked out in my area because I don't like using illegal streams. But that being said, before the season, Jalen Brunson's breakout I was right about. Quentin Grimes' breakout I was right about, and his role on this team I was right about. RJ Barrett, I'm glad he had this moment in the playoffs. I truly did. But there's a reason why I picked the Knicks in this series over the Cavs and why I've been a believer in this matchup all along.